I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Music 101. Music 101 is created to empower music itself, and of course, legendary icon in the music industry. And of course, my partner in crime, Mr. Mick, the
Hey,
digital.
Dr. Digital. How you doing, Daniel? It's great to be here again. Another great episode. Looking forward to it.
Yes, yes, yes. And thank you so much for supporting us another year, another season of Music 101. And I love all this
A lot of good stuff. Good
good
sounds.
stuff, as they saying that all this but good is
Nothing but the best.
the best of the best. Like what? Frank Sinatra?
Yeah. Before my time, but great voice.
Before your time. So, Mr. Mick, what will be our topic for today?
We're going to talk about all the little known stories behind classic hits. So there's all kinds of hits for these eras that are really important for music and it shaped the soundscape of modern culture. So pop, rock, soul, and country hits not only entertained millions, but also carried a lot of interesting and hidden stories that reflect the social, political, and personal lives of the artists who created them. So these narratives often go unnoticed, yet they add depth and richness to the songs we all still cherish. And so, what we're going to do is talk about these hidden stories and the fascinating connections between the music and the times in which it was made. So, music from the 1950s and 1970s, which was my era, really shaped the soundscape of modern culture. They had all kinds of great stories. And some of the significant aspects is that tumultuous and social political landscape of the time. And that's definitely the way I was growing up because things were rocking and rolling then. Songs like Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind and Mr. Daniel's favorite, Aretha Franklin's Respect, not just
Yes.
catchy tunes, but they were also powerful statements about the state of the country and the American ideal of justice. And these songs not only captured the mood of the era, but also shape this cultural conversation. So if we explore those hidden stories, we can gain a greater understanding of the historical context in which they were created and the impact they had on the world. So in addition to their social and political significance, these hidden stories also offer a glimpse into the personal lives and struggles of the artists who created them. Songs like Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel and Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues were often inspired by the artist's own experience with love, loss, and redemption. So, in conclusion, by examining the personal narratives behind these songs, we can gain a greater appreciation for the artist's craft and the emotional authenticity that makes their music so enduring.
Yes, let's give them a big applause. Thank you so much for those music that create moments in our lives. So what is the episode about as we consider little known stories behind the classic hits?
Well, we'll talk about the context of that period and that time because there certainly were all kinds of things that were really important. And to give you an example, I'm going to take an example from each of the decades and for 50s to the 70s and say something about them. So I picked one from each of the decades, and that would be Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, and Led Zeppelin. So the 50s, 60s, and 70s, respectively. And let's start out with Elvis Presley's That's All Right, Mama. So, great story behind this was producer Sam Phillips, who was really famous for all kinds of blues artists, my personal favorite as well, the Howlin' Wolf, recorded at Sun Studio. But it was actually the secretary, Marion Keisger, who was the first person to hear Elvis because he had walked in one day and made a really demo acetate kind of thing. It was a throwaway type of recording for his mother, of all things. And Marion listened to it and said, you know what? There's something to this. So she was the one who asked Elvis to come back in the studio to record a demo. She was the one who first heard his unique voice and style on the recording. So Phillips was impressed with Elvis's unique style and decided to give him a chance. Recording session scheduled for July 19th, 1954. And Elvis arrived at the studio with his band, Scotty Moore on guitar, Bill Black bass, DJ Fontana on drums. And this session was supposed to be a demo recording, but it ended up being a full fledged recording session. In the very middle of That's All Right, Mama, he was sounding like everybody else. And Sam said, "Yeah, this is just not working. I mean, there's nothing unique about this." So Elvis said, "You know what? I'm just going to start a jam." So spontaneously, he kind of did his own thing. So at first, the band had just simply imitated the singers of the day. So Sam was disappointed. However, after first singing it as a blues standard, as recorded and written by Arthur Big Boy Crudup, it was only when he burst into his original sound and then Sam heard it and he goes, "Yeah, let's do that again." Let's get that on tape.
Repeat it.
Yeah, repeat it. So during the recording, it was a bit chaotic, and Elvis got his record deal, but his sound didn't fit any genre because he had all kinds of influences: gospel, blues, rockabilly, country, and he just sounded very unique. So once he started recording, then he started performing. The song became a hit. He only recorded 10 sides at Sun, so only 10 records were actually cut there. But Elvis was signed to RCA Victor Records, and of course, he became a major artist. And it was a unique success because of this blend of rockabilly and blues, which was very new sound. They didn't know what to call him, so they called him the Hillbilly Cat temporarily because they didn't know what kind of music, but it's actually the beginning of rock and roll. So also then moving to Blowing in the Wind. So in the 60s, song was written in 62, tumultuous time in American history. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and Dylan was deeply influenced by the struggles of Americans for equality and justice. And the song's lyrics, which ask a series of rhetorical questions about freedom, justice, and morality, were in fact inspired by Dylan's own experience as a young artist in Greenwich Village in New York and his observations about the world around him. So the song's title, Blowin' in the Wind, was actually inspired by a traditional folk song, No More Auction Block, which also featured the same phrase. And what's often overlooked in Blowin' in the Wind is recorded in one take, Dylan's vocals and guitar work being captured live in the studio. Song's producer, Tom Wilson, was looking for a very raw and spontaneous sound. So something like Elvis, they just said, "Yeah, that's it." And so they sort of stumbled on something. And he, of course, has been one of the most recognizable and major songwriters in the history of rock music. So it's also part of his own personal struggles, artistic growth. He was feeling his voice as a songwriter, trying a number of different things, but it remains one of Dylan's most iconic and enduring sounds. And his influence can still be heard, of course, today because he's a major songwriting artist. And then last but not least, from the 70s, Led Zeppelin. So
Yes.
one of the most famous songs, and it's one of those long ones, was Stairway to Heaven. So what's background of this is actually there's a bit of a controversy centers around the song Taurus by the band Spirit. Spirit's guitarist Randy California claimed that Jimmy Page borrowed the intro to Stairway to Heaven from Taurus, and he was not credited nor compensated for the use of the riff. Page has claimed that the song's melody came from a folk song. California filed this lawsuit. In any case, this controversy has been going on for a long time. So if you ever get a chance, listen to both of them. And I've also put those together on one of my Substack articles. But it's recorded in a number of sessions over a period of some months, and there is some controversy about it. And it's also part of their own struggles. Led Zeppelin, of course, was struggling with their own inner demons, and so they were looking for, in this theme of the song itself, themes of mortality, spirituality, and a search for meaning, deeply personal to the band members because that's what they were looking for. So in conclusion, there's many iconic songs from the 50s to the 60s to 70s, but I picked one out from each one of those decades just to give you some sort of representative samples.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for all the contributions in music. So, what is the context of the era?
So I think when you're talking about, let's say, this entire era, so let's say what was happening in the 60s, once you get rock and roll going with Elvis and Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis and all those folks, they're rocking into the 60s and there's some changes here. So I think maybe the context would make more sense. So giving an idea of some songs then, one of my most famous songs, of course, growing up was The Twist by Chubby Checker. And this was the song, as they said, it separated people because people had been dancing as couples and the twist was an individual dance. So he gets credit for just saying, okay, completely revolutionizing the kinds of sounds that people were listening to. Very energetic song. It was a craze, it was a smash, and it survived after all these decades. So this was a song that was success largely to his manager, Cal Mann, who convinced Checker to record the song. He had previously worked with the person who recorded it first, Hank Ballard. He saw the potential of the song, convinced Checker to record it, and of course, the rest is history. And what he added, Chubby Checker, was those energetic dance moves that people could imitate fairly easily. And his stage presence became a twist craze that swept the nation. And it's interesting about some things about Chubby Checker, too. His name obviously is not Chubby Checker. It doesn't sound like it would be a real name. It's not. His real name is actually Ernest Evans, but he invented that name to be similar to another popular artist of the era, Fats Domino. Get it? Fats Domino, Chubby Checker. And Chubby is originally from South Philadelphia, like a lot of pop idols of the time. And I actually saw him one time. He lives in Paoli, Pennsylvania. I live next door in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And I happened to see him coming out of the driveway. And I always saw this one house with CC on the gate. And sure enough, Chubby Checker came out one time and I saw him. He was driving a Corvette. So interesting little personal side. I actually seen him. So also, if you're talking about the heartbreak of "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow" by the Shirelles is a classic hit, and that tells a poignant story of young love and uncertainty. It was written by Jerry Goffin and, of course, the famous songwriter in own right, Carole King, and that reflects the tears, the fears of a girl wondering if her love will last beyond the night. And the Shirelles, one of the first all-female groups, took advantage of the path of American capitalism for women. Greatest success of "Will You Love Me Tomorrow" and "Soldier Boy," both of their songs reached #1 in the United States. In 1996, the group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So their soulful rendition and heartfelt lyrics captured the anxieties of many young American women in the 60s, making it a timeless classic. So behind the scenes, you'd say it's groundbreaking not only for its emotional depth, but for its boldness in addressing themes that were rarely spoken about in pop music at the time. And they touched on the vulnerability and insecurity of love, particularly from a woman's perspective, that challenged societal norms of the early 1960s. The lead singer, Shirley Owens, delivered the vocals with a raw, tender honesty that gave that song its unforgettable pull. And along with it, there's a lush string arrangement combined with the soft doo-wop harmonies added an air of sophistication that elevated it beyond the typical love song of the time. It's very introspective. So the production of the song, too, is also a significant moment in music history. It became the first song by an all-female group to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, carving the path for future groups like the Supremes and one of my favorites, Martha and the Vandellas, Dancing in the Street, 1966. However, the Shirelles actually had reservations about recording it at the time, thinking it might be too controversial, but it kind of bridged that gap between pop and soul, resonating with all kinds of people all across America. Cultural milestone, proving that pop music could both be commercially successful and emotionally profound. Another song from the back east, and especially very well known and also huge back east, "Walk Like a Man," the Four Seasons, later on Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So 1963, written by the lead singer at the time, Bob Gaudio, and songwriter. It's a lyricist known for other songs as well too. It was originally intended to be a ballad, but Gaudio and Parker decided to turn it into an upbeat rock song instead. And allegedly, it came from a conversation about how men walk while Gaudio was talking to his wife. And result of the song became one of the Four Seasons' biggest hits, reaching #1 in the Billboard Hot 100 charts in 1963. Another little known fact about it is that's the first song by the Four Seasons to feature the distinctive harmonies of the group's lead vocalists, Frankie Valli and Bob Gaudio. Frankie Valli went on to sing more and more of the lead, and he continued to. You have Valli's signature falsetto, really well known, very unusual voice. It's one of the most recognizable and imitated songs in rock music. And part of the song's harmonies was also a key factor to his success, having to do with the Four Seasons. So interesting song and also very much a part of that time. All of these are the so-called pre-Beatles invasion because I want to move to the Beatles. Story
Yes.
behind "I Want to Hold Your Hand." So when the Beatles released "I Want to Hold Your Hand" in 63, complete game changer, especially in 64 when they came the British invasion, they started off and the next year it's the beginning of Beatlemania. But what many people don't know is that song was inspired by a simple desire for connection. Written by Lennon and McCartney, it captures the innocence of young love The Beatles' manager, Brian Epstein, played a pivotal role in their American success, pushing the music across the ocean at a time when American rock and roll was evolving. And the Beatles' charm and energy resonated and completely changed things. The thing by hindsight is the fact that they have so similar to the Americans, same language, same culture, basically, and all those things. But at the time, it was like a bombshell. They changed everything, and they seemed so different. It was like they were coming from Mars, which is obviously England is not Mars, but total game changer. And behind the scenes, this is a pivotal moment in the partnership between Lennon and McCartney. It was written together on a piano in the basement of girlfriend Jane Asher's family home. Process was a testament to their collaborative genius. Paul later described the writing session as eyeball to eyeball, both Lennon and McCartney looking eyeball to eyeball, bouncing ideas off until they finally struck gold. And that synergy was the magic of their partnership, two creative minds pushing each other to be better. So I Want to Hold Your Hands, not just a song, but it's a spark that ignited a cultural revolution and paved the way for the Beatles' unprecedented influence on the music and society. Same year, part of the British invasion, Do Wah Diddy Diddy by Manfred Mann.
Mm,
This is also a great
yes.
song. As a writer, Jeff Barry was inspired by a traditional African American song from the 1920s. So Barry was a renowned songwriter and producer, and he had this ability to craft catchy and memorable tunes, and "Doo Wah Diddy Diddy" was no exception. So borrowed the melody and lyrics from a traditional song, and then Barry discovered while researching the genre, he was inspired by the song's catchy melody and lyrics and decided to update it. The traditional song that inspired Jeff Barry to write "Doo Wah Diddy" is John Henry, a traditional African American folk song from the 1920s. And the song tells the story of John Henry, a steel driver who competes with a steam drill to see who can dig a tunnel faster. And this was recorded by Pete Seeger, and that's the folk version. So it came from Seeger's album, Songs of the American Industrial Worker. It's a great example of how traditional songs can then be updated and brought up to the present, at least from that period of time. So catchy melody, great lyrics, band's energetic instrumentation made it a huge success. It was number one on the UK singles chart and became a classic of the British invasion era. Often it's overlooked, but in any case, in summary, it gives you an idea of the context of the time and what was going on, let's say in the 60s.
Yes, yes, yes. Again, thank you for the catchy melody. Thank you so much. And how about some little known stories about rock songs, Mr.
Yeah,
Nick?
yes, indeed. So, what happens with rock? So, as rock and roll began to evolve into rock, primarily because of the Beatles and their experimentation. So, speaking of experiments, how about Space Oddity by David Bowie, 1969? He was inspired by the potential of astronauts getting lost in space. Song became a hit and is one of the most famous songs. And one of the most interesting facts about Space Oddity was originally intended to be a song about a character named Major Tom, who actually would appear in several of Bowie's songs throughout his career. Bowie was inspired by the Apollo 11 moon landing, which was happening in 69, and possibility of astronauts being lost. And the song's lyrics were written in just a few hours, songs recorded very quickly in one take. Another little known fact about it was actually released just days before the Apollo 11 moon landing on July 11th, 1969. So the song's timing was a coincidence, but it also added to the song's sense of relevance and importance. Song's success was also helped to its inclusion on BBC's coverage of the moon landing, which of course had a great song for this, Space Oddity, and they used it. It was the first song to be played on BBC Radio 1 after the Apollo 11 moon landing, and the song's popularity was helped by the inclusion on the BBC's coverage of the moon landing, quickly became a hit single. Song's success helped establish Bowie as a major star, and it remains one of his most enduring and famous songs. So, speaking of messages, what would be better to talk about in terms of songs of the era but American Pie by Don McLean? It's one of the most analyzed songs in rock history. So Don McLean's
Yes.
lyrics are cryptic. It's filled with references to significant events in American culture. It's written in 1971. The basic story of it is the loss of innocence after the tragic plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and Big Bopper when their plane crashed in Iowa. So McLean uses the event as a metaphor for the changing landscape of music and society. So that line, the famous line, of course, the day the music died, encapsulates a moment in time when the carefree spirit of the 50s was replaced by a more complex and tumultuous reality. Behind the scenes, Don McLean poured his heart and soul into crafting American Pie, a song that would become both a personal statement and a cultural phenomenon. Written over several months, the song was a reflection of McLean's own disillusionment with the shifts in American culture during the 60s and 70s. He's often spoken about how deeply Buddy Holly's death affected him as a teenager. The song became a way for him to process not only that loss, but also the broader social changes that were following. So, this is a sprawling, nearly 9-minute track that was a bold move, breaking the mold of radio friendly pop songs which ran about 2 minutes. And then all of a sudden, we've got this 9-minute song. It's a bold move. And it also meant McLean could weave this rich tapestry of imagery and symbolism that would keep listeners guessing for decades. And people are still sometimes guessing about it. So production also is ambitious. He worked producer, McLean worked closely with the producer to create a sound that would match the epic scope. And it brought together a mix of folk, rock, and gospel influences. That driving piano melody and lush harmonies gave the song both a nostalgic warmth and a sense of urgency. Despite its length, the song did become an instant hit, topping the charts and earning its place as a defining piece of 70s music. And its appeal lies in its mystery. McLean has famously avoided explaining many of the specific references, so it keeps us guessing all the time. It's not just a song, a time capsule, a puzzle, and a heartfelt poem for an era gone by. Speaking of rock, the truth behind Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. So, more than just a rock anthem, it's a desperate cry for escape and freedom. It was written in 1974. The song was born out of Springsteen's own struggles with his small town life. And he also, like me, is a Jersey boy and a desire to break free. And the lyrics paint this vivid picture of longing and hope, capturing the essence of youth yearning for a better life. That iconic line, we got to get out while we're young, speaks to an entire generation feeling trapped in their circumstances. And Springsteen's ability to channel his personal experiences into his music is what makes his song resonate so much with his followers. So, behind the scenes, the Born to Run was as much a labor of love as it was a turning point in Springsteen's career. At the time, Springsteen was under immense pressure from his record label to deliver a hit after his first two albums had failed or didn't achieve commercial success. He poured everything he had into the song, spending months perfecting it in the studio, layer by layer. Every instrument, every vocal, every sound was meticulously crafted to create this larger than life wall of sound that defines the track. And as we've talked about here on Music 101, it was inspired by Phil Spector's production techniques, and the band worked tirelessly to capture that raw energy and cinematic scope that would make Born to Run unforgettable. It was his bid for greatness, and in Springsteen's case, it paid off. It also marked the beginning of his lasting collaboration with the E Street Band, which brought his vision to life with the unparalleled talent and chemistry. Clarence Clemens' soaring saxophone solo became one of the defining moments of the track, embodying both the yearning and triumph in the song's narrative. Beyond its musical brilliance, Born to Run became a statement of purpose for Springsteen himself, a declaration of his belief in rock and roll as a vehicle for storytelling and connection. So, if you listen to the lyrics and hear the song, the highways jam with broken heroes on a one last power drive. Everybody's out on the run tonight, but there's no place left to hide. Together, Wendy, we could live with the sadness. I'll love you with all the madness in my soul. Oh, someday, girl, I don't know when we're going to get to that place where we really want to go and we'll walk in the sun. But till then, tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. So it's a great song there, great lyrics, and
Great song.
indeed. So this, in conclusion, it's one of the most iconic songs, and it's also that anthem of hope for any young person whose dreams of breaking free and chasing something greater.
Yes, thank you for the rock songs. So we learn about the stories about 60 songs, and of course the rock songs, and of course how about the soul music?
Yeah, so there are some parallels now to the change that's going to come. Speak of the devil, because Sam Cooke, his tune, A Change is Going to Come. It's often regarded as an anthem of the civil rights movement. Written in 1964, it reflects Cook's personal experiences with the American impulse to overcome racism and his hope for a better future. It was inspired by the struggles he witnessed himself and his own encounters with discrimination. So, that powerful message and Cook's soulful delivery touched hearts and inspired many and to continue fighting for equality. The hidden story behind the track is one of resilience and hope, making it a pivotal moment in the soundtrack of social change. Behind the scenes, it comes from an incident in 1963 where they were turned away from a whites only motel in Louisiana, an experience that left him shaken and angry. And it's about the time of Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind, so made waves of protest song, and Cook reportedly felt challenged and motivated to create something equally profound from his own perspective as an American living through the harsh realities of segregation, racial equality, and the Democratic Party control of the South. And this combination of personal pain and artistic drive led him to write one of the most poignant and enduring songs of his entire career. The recording process was equally significant, with Cook pouring over every ounce of his emotion into the studio session. So he's backed with this lush orchestral arrangement. The song diverged from his usual pop and R&B style, embracing a more profound, almost completely spiritual tone. Now, of course, Sam was leaning on his background because he had been a gospel singer to bring this Christian message through as applied to social change. And his voice carries both the weight of despair and the promise of hope, creating this hauntingly beautiful balance that resonates with listeners. Tragically, Cook was killed shortly after the song's release, and he never lived to see the full impact of the work. However, Change is Going to Come became a beacon of hope during the civil rights movement, and its message echoing in marches, protests, and speeches. It's one of the most powerful statements in music history, a testament to Cook's resilience and his belief in a better tomorrow. So while we're talking about soul music, I bet Mr. Daly can guess who I might be talking about next. One of his favorite, The Journey of Respect by Aretha Franklin. So, yes, indeed. Interesting in so many ways that it was originally written by Otis Redding, but she made the most famous version of it. And this became a powerful anthem for both the feminist and civil rights movements. Released in 1967, her rendition demanded respect not only for women, but for the American ability to combine whites and blacks in the studio. Really interesting because they were all white musicians who backed up Aretha Franklin on her 67 recording of Respect. The Muscle Shoals rhythm section, Barry Beckett on keyboards, Roger Hawkins on drums, Jimmy Johnson on guitar, David Hood on bass. And they continued to record with Aretha. And these are some of her most famous and most iconic songs with a completely white band. So there's a legendary Muscle Shoals band, played in all kinds of classic recordings of the 60s and 70s. But the story here that's hidden is Franklin's transformation of the song into a declaration of power and independence. Her powerful voice and commanding presence turned a simple demand into a rallying cry for change, inspiring generations to stand up for their rights. And this is part of her own experience as a woman, as an American. As a child, she had witnessed the struggles of her parents. Her father was a Christian minister, Clarence, and Barbara Franklin fought for civil rights and American justice. And this exposure instilled in her a sense of purpose and responsibility to use her musical platform to advocate for change. When she recorded Respect, she poured her own emotions, convictions into the song, and clearly it has this sense of urgency and authenticity that resonates with people. The impact of that song, far-reaching and profound. It became an anthem and a message of empowerment, powerful symbol for the civil rights movement. Respect remains as timeless classic, a testament to the enduring power of music to inspire and enlift. Another song, 73, I'll mention, Killing Me Softly with His Song by Roberta
Yes.
Flack. Another great song. The songwriter, Charles Fox, was inspired by a poem by Laurie Lieberman. He adapted the poem into a song, which became a hit for Roberta Flack. One of the most interesting facts about Killing Me Softly with a Song was originally written by Charles Fox and Norman Gimbel in 71 for the film For Love of Ivy. The song was intended to be a duet between the film stars, Ray Charles and Diana Ross, but ultimately not included in the film. Instead, the song was recorded by Laurie Lieberman, singer-songwriter who had been discovered by Fox and Gimbel. Her version was released in 71, but of course it was Roberta Flack's 1973 cover that became the most famous and enduring version of the song. Another little known fact about Killing Me Softly with a Song is that Roberta Flack's version was actually a re recording of the song. She had been a fan of Lieberman's version and inspired to record her own version. Not satisfied with the initial recording, decided to re record it, new arrangement and production. The re recorded version was released in 73, became a huge hit, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart and staying there for 4 weeks. Another interesting fact is that the song's lyrics are often misinterpreted about being about a romantic relationship, which it does sound like it just from the title. However, the song's writer, Charles Fox, said the song is actually about the pain of losing a friend. And the song's title, Killing Me Softly with a Song, refers to the way that the memories of the friend are killing the narrator softly rather than being a reference to a romantic relationship. So, in conclusion, with all these soul songs, these songs became classics of the romantic ballad genre and often associated with the 60s soul music.
Yes, thank you. Soul music. Thank you, Sam, for giving us those melodies. So, how about country music, Mr. Mac?
Yes, how about it? Country music, tales of heart and hardship. Dolly Parton's Jolene is a haunting
Oh, wow.
ballad that tells the story of a woman pleading with another woman not to take her man. So, written in 1973, the song is actually based on a real experience Parton had with a beautiful bank teller who flirted with her husband. The raw emotion in Parton's voice and the sincerity of her lyrics make the song relatable to anyone who has felt insecurity in love. The hidden story showcases not only the complexity of relationships, but also Parton's ability to transform personal pain into art. What's often overlooked is the way Parton's songwriting skills allowed her to tap into the universal emotions that listeners experience in relationships. Jolene is a masterclass in storytelling. Parton's vivid descriptions of the titular character painting a picture in the listener's mind. And the song's use of imagery and metaphor adds depth and complexity to narrative, making it both personal, deeply personal, and universally relatable. It's a testament to Parton's skill as a songwriter, as well as her ability to connect with her audience on a very deep level. The enduring popularity of Jolene is a testament to the song's timeless themes and Parton's enduring legacy. It's been covered by countless artists, Kelly Clarkson, the Pentatonics, and continues to be a fan favorite at Parton's live shows. Beyond its commercial success, Jolene remains a powerful symbol of the human experience, a reminder that even the most painful experiences can be transformed into something beautiful and meaningful. As Parton herself has said, Jolene is a song about the power of love and the power of vulnerability, and its impact continues to resonate. How about another interesting song with a great backstory? The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia by Vicki Lawrence. One of the most interesting facts about it is that it's written by Bobby Russell, a songwriter and musician is known for a unique blend of country, rock, and pop styles. He was inspired to write the song after reading a news article about a real life murder that had taken place in Georgia, and he used the story as the basis for the song. The song's lyrics are a fictionalized account of the murder. They tell the story of a woman who is accused of killing her lover and then framing her brother for the crime. So, another little known fact about The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, it was originally recorded by Reba McEntire, country music singer who was just starting out her career at the time. However, McEntire's version of the song was not released, and the song was instead recorded by Vicki Lawrence, who was a well known singer and actress best known for her work on a TV show, The Carol Burnett Show. Lawrence's version of the song, released in 1973, became a huge hit, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts and staying there for 2 weeks. A third interesting fact about The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia is that the song's music video was one of the first music videos to be aired on MTV, which had launched in 1981. The video for The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia was a dramatic and suspenseful retelling of the song's story, and it helped to cement the song's place as a classic of the 1970s. The song has been covered by numerous other artists, including now Reba McEntire, who finally got to record the song after Vicki Lawrence's version became a hit. And talking about country music, for a long time, one of the most famous and most unique voices ever, The Reality of Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. It tells the story of a man reflecting on his own life while serving time in prison. Written in 1955, the song was inspired by Cash's own experience as a young man. The line, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die, captures that dark side of the impulsive decisions and the weight of regret. Cash's deep, resonant voice brings authenticity to the narrative, making a powerful commentary on crime and punishment. He knew a little bit about himself because he spent a little time in Huskow himself. The hidden stories here is one of redemption and the struggles of those on the fringes of society. What's often overlooked about Cash's songwriting skills is allows him to humanize the characters in his songs, even those who are often stigmatized or marginalized. And Folsom Prison Blues is a prime example of this. Cash's portrayal of the prisoner is both sympathetic and nuanced. The song's themes of regret, remorse, and redemption are universal, and Cash's ability to convey these emotions through his music helped to break down barriers and challenge societal norms. By sharing the stories of those often overlooked, the underclass, Cash's music becomes a powerful tool for social commentary and change. And the live performances of the Folsom Prison Blues at Folsom Prison in 1968 and San Quentin Prison in 69, a testament to the song's enduring power and Cash's ability to connect with his audience. Those concerts, which were recorded and released as live albums, featured Cash performing the song with a sense of urgency and conviction that was palpable. The song's themes of redemption and second chances resonates deeply with the prisoners and their audience. Performances help to humanize the men behind bars. So, in conclusion, Folsom Prison Blues and all these country songs remain classics of American music, powerful reminder of the importance of empathy, understanding, and redemption.
Definitely, totally agree, Mr. Mick. Empathy, and redemption. So to sum up our episode for today, Mr. Mick, what is the legacy of these hits?
So I would say the music of the 50s, the 70s, not just a collection of catchy tunes, but a reflections of the times and stories of the artists who created them. Each song carries with it a tale of love, loss, hope, and struggle. These hidden narratives enrich our understanding of the music and remind us that behind every hit is a story waiting to be told. Impact on future generations. They continue to influence musicians today, and all of those themes inspired artists to explore their own stories. Storytelling aspect of music is one of the hidden narratives of these classic hits. It's a crucial element in songwriting, and by looking back at these stories, we can appreciate the artistry, cultural significance that shaped the music. So, in conclusion, classic pop, rock, soul, and country hits from the 50s and 70s are this tapestry of human experience woven together with stories that speak to the heart. Understanding those hidden narratives behind these hits allow us to connect more deeply with the music and the artists who created it. As listeners, we're invited to explore the layers of meaning within each song, enriching our appreciation for the timeless art of music. Echoes of these stories continue to reverberate, reminding us of the power of song to capture the essence of life itself.
Yes, thank you so much again for this wonderful music. As I said, behind many classic hits lie little known stories that add depth to their legacy. Some songs were born out of spontaneous inspiration to everyone. So, Mr. Meg, would you like to plug in your projects, your books, Ian Hunter?
Sure. I got a couple books out there. Thanks for the support of the publishers of both On Track, Ian Hunter, and Burning America. Both of those volumes are available on Amazon. Of course, you can listen to my own podcast, the Doctor of Digital podcast, and also join my Facebook group, which is the Idea to Author Coach. Because if you have an idea, let's get it out there and let's get it published. So get it a bestseller. So anybody who needs to write a song and wants to, or write a book, I can help. I write, I help. Let's get together and chat a little bit about it. So appreciate the opportunity to plug a little bit.
Yes, people, and of course, my book 101 review. Please do listen to my featured author of the month, Miss Kat Rambo, award winning author. So, Mr. Meg, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Deus Volt.
Where's our music? Our music is late. Mordigam people, see you soon.